just a couple more things to help you figure out where the zeros are. The existence of real zeros, not imaginary zeros, real zeros. The real numbers that we talked about at the very beginning. They have this intermediate value theorem, and I'm just going to read this to you, okay? It says, let f be a polynomial function with real coefficients, meaning real numbers, okay? If f of a and f of b have opposite signs, there is at least one zero, one x-intercept at x equals c between x equals a and x equals b such that f of c equals 0. What? I know. What you're doing is, what they're saying is, remember your f of whatever, that represents your y-axis. And they're saying that if you have a y at a point x equals a, and you have a y at a point x equals b, and they have opposite signs, meaning one y is positive and one y is negative, what they're saying is you've had to have crossed the x-axis. You had to have crossed it somewhere. There's an x-intercept in between those 2 points if your y changes. So you're basically comparing the signs. And I put this little photography here to remind me to show you a picture. Let me show you a picture of what I'm talking about. So let's look at this. Can I blow this up? Yeah, I'm going to blow that up right there just so you can see it. Here's what I'm talking about. This is your y-axis, right? Yes, this is your x-axis. And when you're talking about functions, y is the same thing as f of x, okay? So let's just say that. They're saying if you have an f of a and an f of b that have opposite signs. Let me show you. So if this is my x-axis, I'm going to say this is my a point and this is my b point. Because your x-axis, you have all these numbers, right? And if I pick a point up here, on the y-axis, let's say here, and then I'm gonna pick a point right here. So if I pick this point here, this is the point a, f of a. Do you agree? Let me write. Can y'all see? Okay, good. You can see. I wanted to make sure you could see that. This is the point a, the x value, and then f at a, right? Which is the y value. Do y'all see that? This point right here. Okay, so this is your f. This is your f of x, your y-axis, right? And I'm saying the point here is a f of a. And then this point here, this point here, see where this is the point on the y-axis here, and then this is the point on the y-axis too. So this is your y-axis, okay? This is your x-axis. Do you agree that this is the point B, f at B? Whatever the number is, do you agree that's this point here? In fact, let me put that point. Yeah. So your polynomial, basically the intermediate value theorem says there exists, if I'm going, however I draw it, let me draw it. If I'm doing something like this and I'm coming up and I'm coming through here, what they're saying is there has to be a point here that you cross, and they're calling that point C. They're saying that you had to have crossed the x-axis in order for the y sign to change, because these down here, these are your negative y values, and these are your positive y's. You'll see that? So they're saying is if you compare, if you pick 2 points on the x-axis, and when you plug it into your function, if one comes out negative and then one y value comes out positive, they're saying you had to have crossed the x-axis, because the only way to get from a negative y to a positive y is to go up or to come down, right? To go from a positive y to a negative y, or a negative y to a positive y. You see what I'm saying? If you go up, you've crossed the x-axis. If you go down, you cross the x-axis. The only way that these y values are going to change is if you cross the x-axis. That's all the intermediate value theorem is saying. If you compare 2 points, if you have 2 points and you notice that this point gave me a positive y value and a different point gave me a different point on the x-axis gave me a negative y value, I crossed the x-axis somewhere. I don't know where. That's what all those other things will tell me, but that means I crossed the x-axis. So let's look at an example. This says, show that f of x, 3x cubed minus 10x plus 9, has a real zero between x equals negative 3 and x equals 2. Has a real zero between x equals negative 3 and x equals 2. If it has a real zero between x equals negative 3 and x equals negative 2, that means the sign of the y's are going to change. If the sign of the y changes, that means we have crossed the x-axis somewhere. Going back to this, if you go from a negative x to a negative y to a positive y, you have to cross the x-axis to get there. That's all we're saying. And if the sign changes on the y, that means you've crossed the x-axis. So what you do here, essentially just take, find f at negative 3, and then find f at negative 2. Remember, y is the same thing as f of x. Y is the same thing as f of x. Y is the same thing as f of x. So that's going to be 3. Let me do it like this. So that's going to be 3 times that cubed minus 10 times that plus 9. And let me write it here. So we're going to plug in negative 3. And we're going to plug in on this one negative 2. Yeah, negative 2. So now let's see what we get, right? So that's going to be what? 3 times, what is that? Negative 27. And you're like, Dr. B, how did you get that? Negative 3 times, so negative 3 times negative 3 is a positive 9, but you have one more 3 because it's cubed, okay? And then that's going to be, equal, or no, we're doing minus. So a minus 10 times a minus 3, that's going to be a positive 30. Y'all see that? And then plus 9. So let's stop there, because I'm probably running out of room. Okay. And then so we have, if you put this in your calculator, you should get minus 81 plus 30 plus 9. And when you put that in your calculator, make sure you can still see that, you end up with negative 42. Okay. Now, f of negative 2, you get negative 2 cubed. That's going to be what? A negative 8, right? Because negative 2 times negative 2 is a positive 4. 4 times negative 2 is a negative 8. So we're going to have 3 times negative 8, right? And then that's going to be plus, what is that, a positive 20? Because a negative 10 times a negative 2 is going to be a positive 20. And you're like, where did you see that? Right here. And then plus 9. Ooh. Okay, make sure y'all can see that. So then 8 times 3, that's going to be what? A negative 24, right? So we have negative 24 plus 20 plus 9. And when you put that in your calculator, you get 5. So essentially what they're saying is from x equals negative 2 to x equals negative 3. If I can draw a little, can I make this? I don't think I can. I'm just going to draw a little graph here just so you can see it. Okay, so x equals negative 2 is here. X equals negative 3 is here. Do you agree with that? This is the x-axis, and this is the y-axis. You know what? Let me get a scratch paper because I really want you to see this. Okay, scratch paper. So at x equals negative 3, we found that f of negative 3 was negative 2. And then at x equals negative 2, we found that f of negative 2 was equal to 5. If I were to write this as an ordered pair, this is negative 2, negative 42. That's my x and my y. And then this is negative 2 and 5. Okay, got my little graph. So, and this is guesstimating because we don't have enough numbers. But you have your x-axis and you have your y-axis, right? If there's a real zero that exists between these 2 points here, then the y value sign changes. See how the y value sign changes? But I want you to see it. I'm visual, so I want to see it. X equals negative 3 is right here, and y equals negative 42 That's going to be somewhere down here, right? So I'm just gonna mark right here. Okay, I'm gonna say -3, -42. Okay, and then the other point is -2, 5. So when x is -2, y is 5. That's somewhere right here. You see what I'm saying? In order to get from this point to this, in order to get from this point to this point, you have to cross the x-axis. So that means because you cross the x-axis, there has to be an x-intercept. And if there's an x-intercept, you have a real 0, meaning it's a real number. It's not an imaginary number. That's what the intermediate value theorem says. If you can go from one point to another point, and if your y values change signs, that means you went from a negative y to a positive y. Because the only way you can get from this point to this point is to what? Cross the x-axis. I don't care if you loop-de-loop, and get through, you still got to cross the x-axis. Does that make sense? I hope that makes sense. If not, leave me a comment and we can do some more.